Hey friends, it's Barbara Sue at Kowalski Mountain. Welcome back. So today I am going to be making a rotisserie chicken in my rotisserie oven. And this chicken is pretty large for us to have just one meal. This is one of our broiler chickens that Philip and I raised here at our farm. And it weighs 7.42 pounds. And it's important to know how much your chicken weighs when cooking a whole rotisserie chicken, because that's going to determine how long it's going to need to cook. Now, I've already prepared my chicken. I've washed it. I've dried it. One thing I want you to note that my chicken doesn't have any wings, which makes this a little bit easier. We go ahead and piece out all the wings when we are preparing our chickens on butchering day, and that way we can use the wings for other uses, and that kind of makes rotisserieing one of these big chickens a little bit easier. Now, the first thing you need to do when you're preparing a rotisserie chicken is you need to secure the legs and the wings. And I use these elastic bands. These are a food safe elastic band, and it's just really easy to tie my chicken. Now, you can use regular butcher's twine to tie your chicken, but these little elastic bands make this very easy. So I'm just going to secure these legs. And the reason we want to secure them is so they don't flop around and get stuck, and also so they don't burn. So since this chicken doesn't have any wings, this isn't going to take very much to secure this chicken. I think that's going to be enough to hold those legs together and keep those from flopping around. Now I'm going to use my favorite lemon chicken seasoning, and I prepare this in advance. So this just comes in a regular recipe, and I multiply it up to make a large batch of it, and then I can use it whenever I need it, and it makes it a lot faster to prepare dinner because the seasonings are all ready. Now I'm going to go ahead first and put my chicken on the rotisserie. So my rotisserie oven has a stand that allows me to stand up my rotisserie rack. And I want to try to get this on here in the center, which is not a real easy part. There we go. Now I have my chicken in a tray, so I can be pretty generous with my seasoning and not worry about making a mess. I'm going to put some down inside. Put some of that inside the cavity as well. All right, this chicken is ready to go into the rotisserie oven. This is my countertop rotisserie oven, and I love this oven. I have cooked whole chickens. I have cooked a small turkey, which I don't personally recommend. I also have cooked prime rib in this oven, and everything comes out really amazing. It's easy to use. It's a little bit of a bear to clean, but the chicken is good enough that it's worth the time. Now, one thing I like to do to make cleanup a little bit easy is I put a little bit of water in my tray, and that way the juices just don't burn to the bottom of the tray. They're kind of in the water, and that kind of really helps with cleanup. All right, we're going to get this chicken in here and get this started. We'll center that chicken in there, and the lid pulls out and closes up. Let's just clean that up. And then we're going to turn it on. Now this 7-pound chicken is going to take almost 2 hours to cook, and it's going to just turn and rotisserie to a perfect cook. So let's come back and I'll show you when it's done. Been about an hour and 45 minutes, and the chicken is about done. I can tell that because right at the legs the skin is pulling away, and that gives me a sign that my chicken is done. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out and let the chicken rest before we cut it up. So my rotisserie oven, the door opens up and it slides right underneath to make it really easy to open the door. And my rotisserie oven came with these gloves, which makes a really big difference to pull the chicken out. You can just grab right a hold and pull it out. Let's go ahead and take this off. And there we go. And there it is. It's all ready. We're going to let it rest. First, we'll cut all the strings off the chicken before we can carve it up. Now, out of habit, I cut the legs off the chicken first, but it does make it a lot easier to balance if you cut the breast meat off first. I carved down the center carefully, trying to cut away all the meat from the bones. Now I sliced the chicken breast into serving size pieces, and every piece has a piece of crispy skin on the outside. Once I've removed the bulk of the meat, I'll go back over the chicken carcass and remove any extra chicken that I can get off. That'll be added to my leftovers. Well, friends, we enjoyed a delicious dinner of rotisserie chicken, and we even served guests. So our chicken served a total of 4 adults and one child, and we still have leftovers. Now I have 1 pound, 11.5 ounces of chicken, and this is going to be perfect to make my favorite chicken and rice. I had picked off all the chicken off of the chicken carcass and gave this chicken just a rough chop to prepare it to put into the chicken and rice. There's still a little chicken left for lunch. I'll need to cook some rice for this casserole, so I'll get that started before I prepare the chicken. The peas are frozen, so I'll put them in some cool water to defrost them before adding to the casserole. This recipe is a great way to use leftover rice. Unfortunately, I only have about a half a cup, so I'm going to need to cook some extra. We're going to need to make a roux, so we'll first melt the butter in a hot cast iron skillet. I'm using my fresh ground flour to make the roux. I think it's best to let the flour come to room temperature, as I had a really hard time getting this roux to thicken up. The thyme is added right into the roux to make it very flavorful. When making a roux, you let this get thick and bubbly for just a few minutes before adding the liquids. We'll add some of my home canned turkey broth to the roux. Now this is flavored ahead of time while I made the broth, but I do prefer to add an unflavored broth so that the recipe can shine. I add the broth in just little bits until it's completely mixed and thickens up as it goes. Next, we'll add the milk, doing the same thing, adding just a little at a time and stirring as we go. The rice is done cooking, so we'll go ahead and shut off the heat until it's time to add it to the casserole. The roux is finally thickening up, and we're about ready to assemble the rest of the ingredients. Am I the only one who uses salt and pepper straight out of the salt and pepper shakers? It's time to add the chicken. The peas are completely defrosted and they've been drained of all their liquid. We'll stir this as best we can before adding the rice. I'll add the leftover rice first, and then I'll add the freshly cooked rice that I made for this recipe. Now we'll stir this as carefully as we can. I try to use as few pots and pans as I possibly can. Now we'll add the toppings. We'll start with 2 tablespoons of seasoned breadcrumbs. Next we'll add shredded Parmesan cheese. And I don't have a recommendation for how much cheese until you think you've got enough. There can never be too much, right? A few pats of butter, and then this goes into the oven until it's hot and bubbly. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed cooking with me today, and if you want that recipe for the chicken and rice and also the rotisserie chicken recipe, be sure to go down into the description box and join the Kowalski Mountain Subscribers Library. There you're going to find all of our favorite recipes that I share on the blog and also on the YouTube videos, so be sure to check out the link below. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We're almost to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't hit that button yet, hit that button and help us reach our goal. We'll see you next time.